any pain. My faith's been tested time and time again. Oh, but my spirit is determined to believe and to overcome life trials that seem to never done. But still, I kneel before you with a praying song. Lord, I come to pray for the strength and the faith that's required. Amen. I pray for my people to not lose their fire. Amen. I send in prayers for those who suffering in silence. Amen. Grant them wisdom, cures, clarity and guidance. Amen. I pray for the young and I pray for the old. Cover their minds, Lord, don't let them lose control. Though we stand in sin, no transgressions are many. Thank God for the life that He gave me. To all you who doubting and losing faith, time to congregate and no time to separate. I'm calling on the prayer warriors in the country. Lord, for Trinidad need we, cause I say Trinidad need a blessing. Tobago need a blessing. Tobago need a blessing. Amen. Trinidad need a blessing. Tobago need a blessing. Trinidad need a blessing. Amen. Life is getting harder to manage. Oh yeah. The plan you had for us, it's vanishing.
Alright, good afternoon, good evening everyone who is locked on. Alright, so good evening to those of you locked on to Constructive Talk. We're getting ready to go into our program in a short bit, so don't touch your dial, stay right there on Constructive Talk.
The information provided by the speakers and or presenter on Facebook and YouTube is for general informational purposes only. All information is provided in good faith. However, Constructive Talk makes no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, adequacy, validity, reliability, availability, or completeness of this information.
Alright, so good evening again to those of you locked on to Constructive Talk. Yep, with me, Pastor Google. Thank you very, very much for being with me this evening. Thank you very, 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 very much. So, we are going live. I have a guest who's going to be on with me this evening. So, I want you to share the live because we have a guest that's going to be on with us this evening, and we're going to continue talking about we're going to continue the discussion this evening. All right, so, and the discussion is going to be about the same SOE and what is going on in Trinidad and Tobago. All right, we're going to be talking about that, the SOE, and what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago that I think you continuously need to be aware of. All right. Good evening. So I have with me this evening MP Scotland, SC. How are you, MP?
I am doing well. Concerned about my country, but I am doing well.
And all of us are concerned, MP. All of us are concerned about what is happening.
We ought to be.
And
serious business.
It is serious business. And to some people, it may be a joke. To some people, it may just be, you know, MP Scotland. Last time I had my dad on with me, and you know him very well.
Yes.
You know him very, very. I think and I don't know. I can't remember how you all know each other, but I know that you all know each other very, very well. And Dad was sharing his concerns, especially with certain aspects of the SOE that you would have pointed out to the political leader, Miss Beckles, yesterday, was it?
Day before yesterday, Tuesday. Yeah, no, yesterday at the press conference. Yes. It was yesterday, yes.
Yes, yesterday at the press conference, you would have pointed out some things to the political leader, Ms. Beckles. And to be quite honest, MP Scotland, I feel as though, and for those of you who are not joining us, we're getting straight into the discussion. I feel as though that this SOE and the Section 11 that you have pointed out to her will affect me.
It certainly will. If you are deemed to be making statements prejudicial to the public safety, it certainly will. And if we can dive right into it, I will read it out for the listening public so that they understand what my concerns are, so that they can judge for themselves. All I am doing now, until I demit office and say I no longer operate myself, is just to present the facts and let the people decide, I am not trying to persuade anyone about anything, I just want to present the facts, do my duty, be objective, be a patriot, and say, this is what I see. I'm not asking anyone to accept or reject. All I'm asking, all I am doing is my duty to point it out. I am clear about Trinidad and Tobago and the role, that I think that I have to play. Very clear.
Wow. Okay, so let's get straight into it, MP. What are some of the concerns you have as a lawyer looking at the document? What are some of the concerns that you have presently?
Firstly, my initial concern is that it has not been a year as yet for this government's life. And this is the third state of emergency that has been called under their watch. It very well may lead to the conclusion, and I will ask therefore people to make a conclusion, and I will certainly make an inference, that the only plan that this government had relative to the combating of criminality and crime in Trinidad and Tobago is either state of emergency or ZOZOs, and that cannot be right. Because in a state of emergency, what you're really saying is that you are suspending the constitutional rights of certain of citizens, and you cannot say it is not okay to say, well, I'm not involved in crime and this will not affect me, because it very well may affect you as someone who is a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago and whose rights are affected. And I say that on the backdrop of there, for this year alone, being 60 murders to date, 5 double homicides, the first triple homicide in Laventille, and it is just not on the cards that this government knows what it's doing and has any comprehensive plan to fight crime. And when you juxtapose that, or you add that up to the amount of persons that this government has put on the breadline, it is, to my mind, a cause of serious concern for right-thinking people in Trinidad and Tobago, no matter what side of the political fence that you sit on. But to drive home the point I am making, let me go to 2 aspects of the Emergency Powers Regulations 2026 that were introduced in March, on the 3rd day of March 2026. So we went to bed one night and things are normal, and this is what we woke up to. Section 11, and this is what it says. No person shall endeavor, whether orally or otherwise, to influence public opinion in a manner likely to be prejudicial to public safety, or do any act or have any article in his possession with a view to making or facilitating the making of any such endeavor. So let us say that we have a disagreement in terms of industrial relations, and you decide that you're going to have some placards and you are going to protest. and you do your placards. You haven't even gone on the streets as yet, and somebody decides that what is contained in those placards are it is prejudicial to public safety. Because who decides what is prejudicial to the public safety? Normally that will be something left for the courts. It is now left in the hands of the politician. If you are going to placard against a politician or a particular government, don't you think that their response will be, well, I may very well deem you to be prejudicial to the public safety? And here's where it gets interesting. Section 12 says, notwithstanding any rule to the contrary, a police officer may, with a warrant, without a warrant, and with or without assistance, notwithstanding any rule of law, let me repeat to the contrary, a police officer may, without a warrant, and with or without assistance, and with the use of force if necessary, enter and search any premises or stop and search any vessel, vehicle, or individual, whether in a public place or not, if he suspect that any evidence of the commission of an offense against Regulation 8 or 11 is likely to be found on such premises or individual, and may seize any evidence so found. In other words, a police officer without the supervision of a warrant from the court can say, I suspect that you are making or about to make or have an article in your possession that is prejudicial to public safety. And they may use force. They may also do it with or without assistance, but certainly without a warrant. How can we justify that in a democracy? How is it justified? Let us say that the reason, and that is the reason given by the Honorable Prime Minister for the implementation of the state of emergency, is that there's credible evidence that there will be threats against prison officers, police officers, peace officers, and ranking officials. What does expression have to do with that? Persons expressing their views that will be anti-government or it doesn't have to be even anti-government, a view that may not be popular. And that is my main concern that I have. And we have to be careful. Listen, Trinidad and Tobago, we must not become numb to the erosion of rights in this country. If we have become numb, then so be it. But I certainly will not become numb, and I will let my voice be heard. I will do my part, and then I will say, well done.
MP, and I hear you, and I totally agree with you with what you're saying. But last night on CNC3, they would have gone on the streets and asked persons about the SOE. And to be quite honest with you, MP, people were like, yeah, if that is what it takes to combat crime and to push back on the criminals and whatever, yes. And I think, and I want to commend the opposition for now having a public meeting tomorrow to start to sensitize persons to what this SOE really entails. Because too many persons are, how to put it, are actually throwing their hands up in the air and saying, well, if this is what it is, so be it.
Well, I am saying that persons who hold that worldview are entitled to hold that worldview, and I will certainly not try to convince them to hold any other view. My duty is to present the facts to the population and let them judge for themselves. I am not into persuasion, because I have understood that Trinidad and Tobago is a very, what's the word I want to use? It's an evolving place to govern.
Okay.
And you must guard against, persons must guard against beating. Sometimes you say your views and you try to you don't want to force it down anybody's throats.
Right.
So you have to be guarded, and I have to be measured, and that is what I intend to do. And when I do that, I think I would have discharged my duty as a member of parliament, as a member of the inner bar, and then I will sleep very comfortably in the night. But there's one other aspect of this legislation for now that I want to deal with, because I must save something, Pastor, for the debate.
Okay.
I want to turn the country to regulation number 4. Powers enforceable by the Commissioner of Police. I want Trinidad and Tobago to listen. Maybe all those who were saying yes, if this is what it takes, I want them to listen. Until orders made by the President under Regulation 3 otherwise provide, the Commissioner of Police is hereby authorized to exercise the following powers: prohibit or restrict the possession or use by any person or body of persons of any specified articles. To impose on any person any restrictions in respect of his employment or business, in respect of his place of residence, your home, that's your home, and in respect of his association or communication with other persons. To prohibit any person from being out of doors between such hours as may be specified, except under the authority of a written permit granted by such authority or person as may be specified. To require any person to notify his movements in such manner at such times to such authority or persons may be satisfied. To restrict any person from traveling except in accordance with permission given to him by such authority or person as may be specified. To require any person to quit any place or area, or not to visit any place or area. Come on, Trinidad and Tobago. We have to get serious. You hear what I'm saying? To impose on any person any restriction in respect of his employment or business, in respect of his place of residence. This goes against your right of enjoyment of property. These are the processes, these are the provisions that are contained in these new regulations. And to my mind, and I have not distilled them fully as yet, they tend to resemble or have siblings of Zozos, you know.
Well, that is what
people's movements, having them, you know, report, etc. Curfew. I am going to interrogate it a little more in depth over the next 48 hours.
And I think, MP Scotland, I think that is where some people have their concerns. I think that is where some people have concerns, because this resembles the Zozo bill.
It certainly does. It certainly does.
Wow.
And that is something that we have to look at very, very carefully in Trinidad and Tobago. I would ask the citizenry to consider it. And here's what I want to say. If the government brings good legislation, we in the People's National Movement as the opposition, we are prepared to support it, you know.
Right.
Because crime affects us all. I've been a victim of serious crime that reached my home. You can hear me burying my head in the sand. I took it on my chin and I moved on. Because I understand. And I consider myself to be a patriot. So I understand that serious crime affects us all. And I want to work with the government, but I want to work with the government in a serious way. I would want to work with the government so we can have suits and plans that may review and refine the existing legislative proposals that will allow joint patrols and give the army the beef of police protection. I would support legislation that was the fundamental issue of data-driven intelligence, a crime plan that is data-driven, reform of evidence management, so that exhibits do not go missing at police station, prevent police-based or police-issued ammunition from turning up and ending up at murder scenes, where there's vulnerable in the society, support a framework that would lead to a meaningful intervention that will address gang recruitment and youth vulnerability, both within and without the schools, within and out with schools. I will support sound constitutionally based crime fighting measures. I am prepared to engage in bipartisan discussions for national security. I am not just talking, but if there are issues to be raised, I want to raise them soberly. I want to raise them because God gave me a brain and I got discernment. So I'm able to understand just not book, but chapter. I recall once I was doing something and my grandmother, who didn't attend formal school, she scolded me. She said, "No book, but you don't know chapter." And thereafter, from all our interaction, I was about 4 years. And by 6 years, I began to know book and chapter, because she taught me common sense. And when she thought I got it right, she said to me, I'll never forget that day. I may have turned maybe 6 or 7. She said to me, "Sense me before book." And after that, I became her confidant, until the day she passed, her confidant. So, to bring back family, just that conversation I'm having with you, bring back the family, and particularly in the constituencies that I represent. In the constituency of Port of Spain South, there are persons certainly will. And what I am saying to you, sir, now, is that families are grieving. And they're grieving because of the inability of this government to deal in a serious way with crime and criminality. And the answer cannot be recycle states of emergencies. It cannot be. So in McShine lands, Keon Alexander, Wayne Alexander, Jesse Nelson, we express condolences to their families. They were ambushed and murdered with automatic rifles. In El Dorado, Tunapuna, the 18-year-old Jesus Sargent and 29-year-old Kyle Alexander were shot dead. Curtis Bird Pierre was gunned down outside a food outlet in Valsaine. On Carnival Friday, Devon Toussaint and Amelia Hernandez were executed in Cuba in front of their 3-year-old child. What will become of that child as a secondary victim? You know that criminologists say, the learning says that there are primary victims and there are secondary victims.
Yes.
And communities are also secondary victims, and the immediate families of these persons are secondary victims. The security officer Minford Alec, who was murdered at a gas station in Aruca, and at the scene, 28 spent 9mm shell were recovered. Do you know that it is alleged that 5 of these shells were marked TTPS 9mm?
Wow.
So I am saying to those who are willing to listen that these are not just opposition statistics. These are certainly not opposition failures. The government has been in power. This government has been in governing this country since April. May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. 10 months. Govern the country. Govern not in a lazy manner, but govern showing that you care. It's good to win elections on slogans, codes, and you understand when this one, when everybody wins. But after the code, and after everybody wins, you have to buckle down and do the work. Do you think that this government has been doing the work?
And people, and you're saying about win, but people are not feeling as though they're winning at MP Scotland. They are not feeling that way at all. People are hurting. Today I would have walked through Woodford Square, and while walking through Woodford Square, there were some gentlemen who stopped me because they know my face, they know my voice. They said, "Hey, Pastor Google, we want to talk to you." And one of the gentlemen would have admitted to me that he would have voted for the UNC. He said, why I voted for the UNC? He said, I remember what I gained in 2010. He said, in 2010, I felt as though, he said, I gained. He said, I got all that I wanted under the UNC government. He said, but now it is different. I said, really? I said, explain to me how it's different. He said, because the people who I would have worked with to get this government in office have turned their back on me. That's one. Two, I was a CPEP worker. I am now unemployed. He said, and three, I can't speak freely anymore because now they are listening, watching, and ready to lock us up.
I see the persons who find themselves in that position. It was your right to vote for who you choose to vote for. That's your constitutional right, and I make no criticism. Because the People's National Movement, there's no perfect government. And certainly that last incarnation of the People's National Movement government was not perfect. Well, it was not perfect. But what I tell Trinidad and Tobago, that this government has to be one of the most, in terms of performance, dismal in the history of the annals, both nationally and that being said, the people who were disenchanted, and maybe rightly so, I keep saying this. Whatever our trespasses were, forgive us our trespasses. Because we really may have. We may not have, we may not have done things to bring home or to bring out our 110,000 votes which did not come out. But the time has come now for all right-thinking persons in Trinidad and Tobago to band together as patriots. This has nothing to do with race, and in a way it has nothing to do with politics, because if the CPAP workers aren't working, the businesses in the bamboo, in Port of Spain, are affected, in Cuba, in Chaguanas, because it is these people who come out on a Saturday, on a Friday, on a weekends, on an evening, and patronize those businesses, It's a ripple effect. If the country is not safe due to incompetent management, then no one is safe, Last week, today is what, Wednesday? Before I close off, I want to share this with public. Last week, Wednesday, I had a judicial settlement conference. That is, like if you have a matter in the court, right?
Yeah.
The court says, go to a settlement, go to a judge, or go to a mediator and see if you can resolve the issue. Also, forgive me, let me just wet my throat. I've been talking quite a lot. So, you go to a judicial settlement conference, and I was not enthused. I'll tell you why. Because I like to go in the courthouse and fight. But this judicial settlement and kumbaya, but I had to do it because it was court appointed. Not only does the court, it was the Court of Appeal. And it was from 3 to 6. So coming down to the town, I'm like, oh my God, when I'm supposed to be going down the savannah and taking a run, I have to be doing this judicial settlement conference. But I did it because it was my duty so to do. And the client came to my chambers, and I spent 3 hours in the conference with him. When the matter was finished, he sat and we chatted. And when he was leaving, I said, Mr. Azad Puran, I will see you in court because the matter was not settled. I woke up Tuesday morning to find that Mr. Azad Puran was shot 9 times in Arima.
Wow.
The businessman in Arima. And the 3 hours I spent with him, it is in my memory because it's 3 hours between 3 hours work. And I was griping. I was so glad to spend the time with him. So crime it's a serious, it affects us all. I extend my condolences to his family. And I was thinking, I was so happy that I didn't say, I'm a senior counsel. I'm glad I attended. And I'm glad that I spoke with him. He told me that, he's retired from the Ministry of Works, and we spoke.
Yeah.
As human beings. And I just, I say thank God for life. I praise the Lord as the psalmist does. But, I don't know what else that I can say other than if good legislation is brought, we will support it.
And those things that you would have spoken about, where you would have addressed certain things, those are some of the amendments you all would have requested in the Zozo bill?
Some of them, well, the ones that are coming up now, but I assure you that when this matter is debated in Parliament, I will have several amendments to suggest, and that will be in the ultimate instant, because you know the government has the majority in the lower house, so they don't have to take us on. But I will do my part, and I will suggest amendments, particularly to those two sections that I've just alluded to and read out for the public.
Wow. But before you, because normally we take calls and stuff for MPs. So
I don't mind. I do not mind taking the calls.
All right. So before we take the calls, also, you know, I saw this evening on the news where CNC3 would have reached out to a blogger, well-known blogger, and asked her, how is this going to affect how the way she deliver information to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago? And then everybody know who I'm talking about, Rhoda Barth. And Rhoda was saying that she knew that something like this was coming, because when you listen to the Homeland Security Minister, he hinted many times, draw reference to Japan, he draw reference to Australia, he's drawing reference to certain things to bring us to the awareness that, hey, you all are too free here with your cell phone and with social media. We need to pull it back. Now listen what I'm saying at MP Scotland. When they wanted the people to believe in their narrative and to believe in whatever they wanted to push out there, they use social media bloggers, they use the social media. But now, when people are showing up their faults and showing up where they are, and you know, Miss Barth said it right. She said the UNC government and opposition was pushing for the whistleblower legislation. Now you are stifling whistleblowers. Because if somebody from a ministry know me and they said, hey, Google, I have some information here, boy, that I think need to come out, and apparently they are stifling it, take this. Look, I sent something to your email. And if they believe by me sharing that information might push people to
might be prejudicial to public safety.
Yeah, they could come for me.
Not that they could, they would come for you. They would come for you.
So how?
And the issue I want you to understand is, who decides that? Not a court of law. That is the fly, the serious fly in the ointment. That it is a politician who will be deciding that, not the courts. So we have some issues to confront, and if we are to develop as a society, because I can tell you that sometimes when I listen to this government has taken me back to reading 15th century Machiavelli, the Prince. You know, I start to read. I had to go deep to understand, to get a grip. Malde alerium, do you know what that is? It's a Latin phrase that you wake up every morning thinking the worst.
Yes.
And not thinking the worst in a negative way, but preparing yourself for the worst.
MP Scotland, we were sleeping and got up a morning and here 4 o'clock they wake up President Christine Kangaloo to sign off like if there was so like if we have a coup.
Listen, I am telling you, Trinidad and Tobago, there's a, I don't want to say a heaviness, but there's a mood in this country. There's a mood. And, I am not, I'm not one for seances, but we have to see things. And we as a people, and when I say as a people, I mean Trinidad and Tobago, have to see things for what they are, Because if you don't have a visa to go anywhere, we have to live in this space together, And what I want to say to the whole of Trinidad and Tobago is that for us to succeed, it must be together. We must aspire, Together we have to achieve. Those watchwords from Dr. Williams, I try to put my feet in the shoes that he wore. I walk the area that he walked because it is now the constituency that I represent. Those are huge shoes to follow, You recall when earlier on this year, someone wanted to say that he was not the first prime minister of the country. What madness is that? What lunacy? Do you think anyone from the People's National Movement, if I made such a ludicrous statement, well, right now, I would have been ridiculed I would have to go and live somewhere else. But it passed.
Yeah.
We allowed it.
Yeah.
Where there should have been an uproar.
Imagine you.
And do you know why? Do you know why there should have been an uproar? Because it is simply not true.
True. And imagine you, MP Scotland, making a statement like Basdio Pandey was never the political leader of the UNC.
Come on. And but do you know the difference? That's why we hold ourselves to a higher standard. I would never disrespect Basdio Pandey or his legacy.
Thank you.
In that way. Not for any cheap political points. In fact, I will not do that to anyone. And you must give kudos where kudos are due, So you give your kudos to the Honorable Prime Minister because, listen, she came from opposition. She's now, for the second time, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yep.
And it's now our duty, if we want to enter the Gael, which we have, to dislodge that. I cannot rewrite history and say that she's not the Prime Minister.
And say that
what madness is that?
And say this is not her second bite of the cherry.
Yeah, the madness. But the UNC may very well, their spokespersons may do an incarnation of that,
Wow. So, MP Scotland, so because last night I was asking my dad, and I want to ask you. So, God forbid, someone of the activists, PNM activists, or an activist, or somebody who just loves Trinidad and Tobago, who may not be political, they just love Trinidad and Tobago, they want the right thing for Trinidad and Tobago, they want to stand for truth. And they were able to get their hands on a document, and they are now saying here what? There are things in this document that I think the police, the Integrity Commission, persons need to investigate. And by chance, the commissioner or the Homeland Security Minister sees that video and deemed the statements to be
prejudicial to public safety.
Yeah. And
what I have to say to Trinidad and Tobago is we must go brave, we must go smart, we must go brave, but truth will always prevail. And I must say for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, when I saw the spirit of Trinidad and Tobago, despite the government's best wing, come out for Carnival and made Carnival not the most memorable, but made it still an event. I, Keith Christian Scotland, I still believe in the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I still have boundless faith in our destiny. And this too shall pass. 1 year, come next month, will be gone. And then be down to 4 years. But we cannot take it for granted as an opposition that we are a shoo-in. We have, I mean, it's work.
So how do we fight back, Mr. Scotland? Because people are saying, because people on the live and you know there are people with different opinions, and you have already laid it on the cards that you are not here to try to push or to force your opinion onto anybody. But you know there are some persons on the live that are saying that the opposition is weak and all we getting is talk. Why are they not pushing back? Only talking.
That I do not subscribe to that at all. I think that a leader is not necessarily loud. A leader leads with integrity, and we have that with Mrs. Penelope Beckles-Robertson.
Right.
A leader leads with purpose,
yes,
and with a quiet assurance. Pastor Google, the incarnation of me that you are seeing now is not the me you would have known a year ago. I'd have been telling, let's hit the streets.
Yes.
But a time is coming, you know. There's a time for everything, and a time is coming, a time is nigh, that we may very well have to do that.
Yes, I know that is something that you were advocating for at the meeting.
Yes.
There was a meeting.
In Belmont.
Yes.
In Belmont.
I used to play that to start my program all the time.
Yes.
I used to play that. I remember when you talked about the single file.
Single file. And we go in single file. And I am not discarding that. What we need to do is to have a comprehensive plan for people. And for the whole of Trinidad and Tobago, and for me in particular, for Port of Spain South, that dependency that we have found ourselves in, it bothers me no end. And that is in East Port of Spain. When it comes to Woodbrook, there are other issues there. The development of Woodbrook juxtaposed with the historical residential areas. I have a lot of 80-year-olds, octogenarians living in Woodbrook. St. James needs a revival. The avenue has outstripped St. James. I think we have enough land to have both a St. James and an avenue. I have noted since the burning of Smokey and Monty, I mean, Universal is still there, but you know, I know my constituents. Up on the hill from Beverly Hills, possibly we need interventions. And I intend, because we're in opposition, so our resources are limited, but I intend to agitate for interventions on behalf of my people. It is over 30,000 of them, some of them from my constituents, 11 contractors with over 12, I mean, if you take 30 by 11, that's over 3,000-4,000 people have lost their jobs. I was thinking, I paused for a while after the incident at my home, but God bless my family. I'm thinking that I have to go all out for the persons who have given me this privilege of being their elected representative. And there's lots of work to be done, because not just because people are disenchanted will that translate itself into anything else. other than disenchantment. So there's a lot to be done, and it's under the leadership of Mrs. Penelope Beckles Robertson. That is my view, and I do not think that we are just talking because we are engaging in Parliament. We will engage in action, and we will educate the people, because education sometimes is a greater tool than just walking,
Yeah.
And what we are doing here, that this is part of the process, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I've taken my time. You told me 45 minutes. We're going to an hour, and I will take questions.
Yes.
Pastor,
yes.
always do me that, but I intend to, because this is how we engage the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and it's an honor to be on your program, and we will engage.
Thank you. And a lot of persons are on the platform right now, and they're sending that they're having a heated discussion in the chat room, but that's all right. So we're going to take some calls on 464-7003, 464-7003, 464-7003. You can call in and share your view. Ask. We stay in alignment of the SOE, and we're staying within alignment of the concerns that you would have as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. All right, we're taking calls along those lines, and we have MP Scotland SC with us, and again, it's a privilege to have him to share, because when I saw you talking at the press conference, and you were pointing out to the political leader, hey, we have genuine concerns that persons need not to bury their heads in the sand for.
We certainly can't. We certainly ought not to.
All right, so we open up the phone lines for you to call in. 464-7003, 464.
Like they're just chatting in the chat room,
They would call in. They would call in, man. Yeah, they would call in. So tell us, on Friday there is a political meeting, MP Scotland. I see that you are one of the speakers.
In Tunapuna.
In Tunapuna. Where in Tunapuna will the meeting be, and what time?
At the corporation, the community center, which is next to the Tunapuna Corporation. I think we start at 7. So we come straight. I come straight from Parliament.
Okay, so people come. You're coming straight from Parliament.
Yeah, we have Parliament on Friday. We come straight from Parliament. Yeah.
Wow.
And we come. No, that's what we signed up for this.
Yeah.
Don't get weary, Pastor. Don't get weary. This is no time to be weary.
All right, so we have a caller calling in. Hello, good evening, sir.
Good afternoon, Pastor. Good afternoon to TNT. Pastor, I have a
Good
problem.
evening, sir.
Good afternoon, Pastor. Good afternoon, TNT again, sorry. Pastor, I have a problem. You see this KGB government we have here? Hello?
Yeah, we hearing you loud and clear.
Yeah, you see this KGB government. I didn't vote for them in the first place, but we didn't vote for the KGB. I saw the people of the country didn't vote for the KGB government. You can't tell me the only way you can solve crime is taking away the rights of 80% of the citizens. That is where you can solve crime. You told us on the campaign trail you have a plan. What's your plan? This can't be a plan. You can't tell me that the only way you can solve crime, you have to inconvenience the whole nation, really. We live in a democracy. We live in a social society. We live in a community society. If we get our chance, this could be a police state. Because seriously, every day, we have nobody inconvenience nobody. We have a hand. They are rule now. They are law now. And the so-called PM, not even coming out to further the demeanor that they even explain. They will press release. So we are the Saturday KGB government, and now you tell me you call ISO, you are sneaking clause that nobody can set up out here, nobody can hate here. But really? So what's the expression going? If you're telling me we have no freedom of speech, no freedom of expression, then this is not democracy. There is hypocrisy. There is no democracy. You can't tell me you're taking people rights. So you tell me I have to agree with you with everything you do. Say I can't. I'm wrong.
Let's hear MP Scotland, because I want to have a discussion with you.
Let me engage you, caller. Let me engage you for one moment. You have made 4 very salient points. You do not need to do the hyperbole about KGB because that is Russian. If I'm to make, if I'm to be light, and I want to be light, you certainly know that we are not puckering up to Russia. But here are the points that you are making, caller. Here are the points that you are making. That the only serious plan that the actions of this government has demonstrated that it has for the fight of crime is a state of emergency. That based on the actions of this government, it seems that they want, and the powers that they are putting in the hands of the police commission, the police, that they want to create a police state in Trinidad and Tobago. And by this action, they are showing themselves not to be democratic. And the actions of the government is anti-democratic. And finally, that the promises made on the election trail about having a crime plan or plan to fight crime were empty promises, not true, because there is no such plan. Are those not the 4 main points that you are making, caller?
You're quite correct, sir.
Caller, your points, each of them carry heavy weight. And the only thing you need to do is just make your points like that. And no one, they may disagree, but they will not dislodge your 4 points that I have written down here from your contribution. And I thank you for your contribution.
Thank you very much,
no problem, sir. No problem.
All right, so you can call in 464-7003.
Pastor Google,
yes, sir.
You play with citizens of Trinidad. I was very impressed with the last caller.
You ain't hear callers yet. There are some callers. When you hear some of our callers at this program,
it's hard to top that one. But let me hear.
All right. Hello. Good evening.
Good evening, Pastor Google.
Good evening, sir.
This is Commander Dindial.
Hey, Commander Dindial is on.
How are you going?
All right.
Commander Dindial, and I have to put on my political hat also, the leader of the National Transformation Alliance. Good evening to you, MP Scotland.
Good evening, Commander.
So,
good evening.
I've been here to Pastor Google's program. He has had me on board having a chat, and I will tell you, this yesterday when the legal notice was published, as soon as I got the legal notice and I got that document, I did a cursory look at it and I sent it to Pastor Google for him to have a look at it also. And I said, my first comments was to Pastor Google was that they are muzzling the public. They are muzzling people's democracy. They are muzzling people's pocket. And you have articulated this and ad nauseum there. I hope the people of Trinidad and Tobago are listening to what you are saying, because you have eloquently expressed it. You and the leader of the opposition have also expressed the clauses that we and people who are thinking could recognize. But I think we have to break it down a little further, because you are explaining to them as a politician and as a lawyer. Now, I want to bring this dynamic into this. We're talking about speaking out or taking photos, right? And it can go against public order, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Prejudicial
Remember
public safety.
now, in the operational aspect of it, if the police officers or the law enforcement officers, because the powers abroad is given to military officers, it is given to SRPs, estate constables, and all sundry that are required under the Act. If they are doing something that is abusive and they are taking pictures of it and they want to share this information to the public, the government and de facto minister and the commissioner of police can charge you and tell you that, listen, you cannot share this information because that information is now going contravening everything against public safety and public order. And you are watching and you are seeing that the officers are abusing their powers. So what they are doing, they are curtailing the powers of the public to have oversight in the form of abuse if anything should happen. That is governance by fear, because you are implicating and putting fear into the public even before, because you are telling the public you cannot come out and do this. You will be fined, you're going to be charged up $100,000, and if we place you in a cell or we arrest you, no habeas corpus, you're going to get 7 days inside and then no bail. Now, we're looking at the perpetual, and to add on to that, we're looking at the perpetual states of emergency. 3 months, we know it's going to go 3 months and it's going to 3 months. I'm going to give you a theory here. It comes back to when we were disputing or discussing the Zozo bill. They did not want to pass that Zozo bill. It seems that they wanted, because the amendments that were proposed were good. And it could have been done and could have been passed. But it seems that there was no intention of passing that Zozo bill, so that they can now blame the opposition and the independent senators for not passing the Zozo bill. That is why we have to come and revert to this draconian measure of the SOE. It seems that this SOE was already pre-planned and there was no intention to having the Zozo at all. So the whole class are just inviting these ideas. Now, and the third thing I want to expand on is the timing. Look at the timing when this SOE was called. It's called right on the heels of where there's widespread upheaval against the Trinidad and Tobago government, UNC administration supporting the US in Iran. And that's coming right after they supported the extrajudicial killings and the removal of Maduro in Venezuela, our neighbor. And she's heading off over on March 7th to have the conference of the Shield of Americas. And I mentioned to people that the U.S. footprint, because of what is taking place regionally and globally, is going to increase. They are not telling us how many soldiers are on station. And I told Pastor, we will normally for a radar of that side, it is 30 people by 3. So you have at least 100 people on a rotation that is working that radar. The footprint in Trinidad and Tobago is going to increase. If the footprint is going to increase, we may be seeing the setting up of more U.S. bases. You have now put things in place where people cannot protest. They are preempting everything. You can't protest, you can't do anything. Now, that comes onto this piece of legislation where you can now hold individuals based on future doings. We've already said that, listen, on suspicion, they can hold you and detain you. If they can hold you and detain you on future suspicion, that means that they have anything that didn't do anything, you didn't commit a crime, but the officer believes you are going to commit a crime. That is detention without judicial proceedings and holding out your whole constitutional rights. It is akin to what this government has been doing before, and look at it. It is reflection of Guantanamo Bay in 2002. Guantanamo Bay was set up and they had 708 persons held at that day and none of them were charged. The last SOE, we see how many people were held and they weren't charged. And we're going to have next SOE to hold people again and not charge them. And we can be going on for the next 6 months. So, perpetual SOE, are we bringing Trinidad and Tobago to reflection of a Guantanamo Bay? So those are my contributions to you.
Right. Commander, let me see if I can cull your contribution You are correct, Pastor. The level of participation in your program has really impressed me. What the commander is saying is that it seems that this government, this is the commander's words. Commander, you still on the line?
Yes, I am.
That they're attempting to muzzle dissent and the public of Trinidad and Tobago. Have I gotten your first submission correct?
Correct.
And then secondly, this government, according to your submission and contribution, is governance by fear. F-E-A-R. Have I gotten you correct?
Correct, 1,000% correct.
And when in a bicameral system, they did not get their way in the Senate because listen, I want to tell you all about how that Zozo bill was passed in the House of Representatives. There were 3 bills presented that Friday afternoon. The first bill was the Tobago autonomy bill. The second bill was the bill that had to do with the suspension of the fines, and the third bill was the Zozos. Out of those 3 bills, only one bill required a constitutional majority. So one would have thought that bill would have been the primary bill that would have been debated first. That bill was debated last. I was the first responder from the opposition. We started that debate at 10:30 in the night, where the public were not allowed to view as it was happening. That was a strategic move. And it took, that bill alone, took 6 days in the Senate. My question is, why was it rushed to the House of Representatives? You know why? Because they have a majority, so they can do what they want. But what you are saying now, you are now advancing a theory of counter-revolutionary. In other words, the reason why they did not take any of the amendments is that they wanted the bills to fail in the first place. They could come back and do a double blame game.
Correct.
Blame the opposition for not supporting it. Blame the independent senators. And it's a triple blame game because they're now trying to blame the opposition for the proliferation of crime when they're the ones who are in charge. And your final point, and I would ask you to look properly at the legislation. I have not seen in it where they are preempting protests. But I understand what you're saying in that by the creation of this state of emergency, they may want to give the impression that persons ought not to come out and spontaneously express their dissatisfaction with this government. So whether it's explicit or not, your point seems to be that the general plan.
I would also add, apart from that, it was the part of permitting arrests without a warrant based on suspicion of future conduct.
Yes. And the without a warrant removes judicial supervision.
Correct.
That is always a cause for concern. Mr. We are very grateful for your contribution, and I want to thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. But I would like to say that in that, a person can be detained not only for something already done, but for what the officer believes may happen in the future. So it shifts the legal standard away from evidence to what's happening.
All right.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Commander Dindial. All right. I I know that a lot of persons are trying to get in just now. Let's see if they can get in now before my good friend leave us. All right, so we're taking your calls 464-7003, 464-7003. This is a great time for you to call in now, and let's continue to impress MP Scotland and show him the caliber of talk that we engage in on Constructive Talk on this platform. You know, I want him to go back and tell his colleagues, hey, you all need to get on that program. Those persons are sharing and they are intelligent, they know, and they are concerned and they are ready to fight for Trinidad and Tobago. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
This is my contribution.
Go ahead.
To me, there's no need for a state of emergency. To me, the framers of the Constitution did not call for this kind of scenarios to have state of emergencies. So I don't believe we really need a state of emergency in Trinidad and Tobago. Not now, not in the past, but because we have governments and by extension the police service not doing their job properly, that we keep having state of emergency as crime fighting measures. And I feel it's time some lawyers, some attorneys come together and go to court about this, especially fight it on a constitutional basis.
Right.
And let the court decide if it's constitutional or not. This is my take on it.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Scotland. What do you think about that? Because last night,
this caller has hit the nail on the head. What this caller is saying is, let the court decide if repeated implementation of states of emergencies is constitutional or not. Caller, I've heard your contribution. It is duly noted.
Thank you very much, MP. MP, you know, last night they did ask my dad that. They said to him, why? Because, you know, my dad would have done constitutional law also.
Yes, he did.
And they asked him, why doesn't he take this matter to court? And he said to the listeners last night that he is going to he has to meet with some of his colleagues and see. But you know, people were asking also, where is the law association in all of this? But let's take this call. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening, caller. All right, the caller not there. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Pastor Google.
Good evening, ma'am.
Okay, I am calling as a very concerned citizen.
How concerned are you?
I am very concerned of what is happening in my country because it seems that the police could just pick up people like that just now and put anything on them and say they found it on them and charge them. And then it seems as though this government could just go into the Constitution and change up what they want to suit them. Right? So I want to know that Trinidad is also a member of the Commonwealth, not so?
Yes.
So is it anything that can happen, you know, if the concerned citizens of the country could get together and appeal to somebody in England or somewhere to come to our rescue with this, what is going on? Because this is very unfair. It is very unfair. We have senior people living in this country, and it have now as if you have them living under tension, right? A policeman could come in the door, break in, put what they want. The police service is not sanctified, you know, to have good and bad in it, right? And then I do not trust that Mr. who is the Minister of Homeland Security, right? So we are not in very good hands. Pastor Google, Mr. Scotland, you all come to some decision to get a group of lawyers to do something for some deliverance for us as citizens of this country with these people that we have here in government. I am asking, please.
All right.
So, madam, you know, I think sometimes, but Pastor, I want to share something. When the UNC was in opposition, they had a cadre of lawyers, a set of lawyers. They had so-called activists. And every Monday morning, the People's National Movement as a government is in court.
Yes.
We are not necessarily of that ilk. But what this caller and the caller who called before is saying is that there comes a time where right-thinking lawyers whose views are aligned to that of the People's National Movement ought to step up. It is something worth considering very soberly, and I will consider it. I necessarily may have an interest to serve being a member of parliament, so that in some way may
prejudice the case.
It may hamstring me, but I have a feeling that what the caller is saying is a legitimate concern. I don't want to talk anything more on this. I want to be measured in what I say. But the People's National Movement have bright lawyers too, you know.
Yes, they do. And my dad is one.
And he is one of them. We have fought battles. Your father and I in court battles. And maybe the time has come for the legal battles to be enjoined. That's all I would say for now. But your admonitions have not gone, madam, on deaf ears.
Wow, let's take this call. Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, senior.
Good evening.
I have one for you. This is my observation, right? My observation is that within the regulations of the current state of emergency, what the government has surreptitiously and capriciously done is included elements of the defeated Zoso bill in terms of declaring what I want to say is that the atmosphere they are creating is a dictatorship. What they are accused Dr. William, and what they are doing is eroding people's rights to the civic and civic minded. We protest against injustice. And I mean, I don't want to call anything because I don't want to prejudice the public public safety. But I'm saying our history is replete of what happens when you push us too far. Tanzania riots of 1888, the water riots of 1903, the 1937 riots in the oil fields. And what I was about, that was about trying to suppress people's rights, about standing up for justice and what is right. And I'm saying that this can't be allowed to stand. Allowed to stand, especially our Prime Minister who has sworn on and swearing on the Constitution. And now you are basically raping the Constitution. And look at the gerrymandering and the underhandedness that they did. The Constitution clearly says about the period of having a state of emergency. So what they have done is try to circumvent the requirement to go and get the 3/5 required by both houses of Parliament, because they know, just like this was so good, independence will have to help them across the line. And if they are prepared to trample on the Constitution this way, the other side to them. But it doesn't surprise me, because this is a party that has never respected our 1976 Constitution in all iterations of their leadership. And I just want to tell you, and your colleagues, is steadfast in being the bulwark for us, the public, against this turn that is unfolding in Trinidad and Tobago. I hope that this will be something that the world is seriously consider, and perhaps for a special general council of your party to discuss it. It's critical, sir. It is critical.
Pastor and Paula,
thanks for the opportunity.
Caller,
do not come off the line as yet, caller. Let me. I am very drawn towards intelligence. Intelligence. If you want to keep this up, I'll be here till midnight. So Pastor, relieve me at 10. When you have people who talk in sense, and I just want to continue to talk with them, and it's good to see all of our people talk in sense and not rumshot talk. What you are saying is that there seems to be a concerted action geared towards the erosion of rights enshrined in our 1976 Republican Constitution. You are saying that they created. You are saying that an atmosphere, be it advertently or inadvertently, is being created that appears to want to trample the rights of the citizenry. You are going back in history from the 1888 Camberley riots that occurred at Piccadilly right outside my office there behind the bridge. You are speaking to the water riots. You are speaking to the water riots of 1930, the oil field riots of 1937. You are invoking the spirit of Tubal riot, Buzz Butler and others. And you are saying that when a people is pushed, and if you push a people, the history in Trinidad and Tobago will show that these things may very well follow. You have omitted the 1970 Black Power uprising, which was. So we will. And I want to keep you on the line, because if you recall, that was a movement and it was a confluence of labor and the intelligentsia coming together under Geddes Granger to rebel against the industrial relations climate in Trinidad and Tobago and certain inequalities that were rampant and glaring. And if you recall, coming out of those riots in 1970, the 1970 uprising, there was the repeal of the Industrial Stabilization Act and the coming into force of the Industrial Relations Act of 1972. All these are things that happened in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. What it shows is that also, when I want to find out too, the famous film show by United Children, a freight car
came out of the intended
Public Order Act.
the Public Order Act, yes, which led to the demise of Carl Hussey Phillips as a PLM minister and attorney general. You understand?
But Carl Terence Hudson Phillips, he rose again. I had a lot of time for him. He was a giant. He was a giant. I had the distinct pleasure and honor of knowing him and coming up against him in courts in Grenada and the Caribbean. Now, here's what I want to say to you. Here's what I want to say to you. Pastor, we must not speak in echo chambers, you know. It seems that we have to get out there because you would have a captive audience here, you know, and we may be talking in echo chambers. The views that are being expressed here ought to be expressed at the University of the People, you know. It ought to be expressed in Couva. It ought to be expressed in St. Joseph. It ought to be expressed in Tunapuna. It ought to be expressed in Tobago East. It ought to be expressed in Tobago West. So maybe there's work to be done because we are here in an echo chamber. We are speaking to ourselves, but we need to get this. Listen, the conversation here is a sensible conversation, you know. It's a conversation that could take scrutiny. So I could tell you, oh, well, you know, you forgot 1970. You could tell me, oh, well, you forgot the Public Order Act, and we can speak about history.
Yes.
I need to review at 10 o'clock tonight because I have other things to prepare for. I've been here an hour and a half on your program, and if your callers continue at this level, I will engage them because the sensible conversation, and we as a people need to stop shop and start to carry on these types of conversations and make sure that our children have these conversations in their psyche so they do not fall for things such as the code, that they understand their history. So, Pastor,
I want to say thank you for your kind words, Senior and Pastor. Thanks for the opportunity to call in as usual and contribute on the most effective podcast in cyberspace. Thanks for the opportunity, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Pastor,
yes, Mr. Scott.
My clock, my grandfather clock is striking 10 now, and I'm sure you're hearing it. My grandfather clock.
Yes.
You hearing it, Pastor?
Yes.
I would want you, if there's one more caller.
Yes, there's one more caller.
I will honor one more caller and I will ask you to relieve me thereafter, please.
Okay, sure. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Pastor Google.
Good evening, sir.
And thank you for having the Honorable Keith Scotland tonight. Mr. Scotland?
Sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you.
After hearing that analogy, that we should Pastor Google, we should have this conversation, take it elsewhere. And I'm saying, based on the state of emergency that just passed, this lady could be saying that, or whoever could sit down, take this conversation that we're having here, and wake up with a plan in the morning that they're coming for Barataria, Mr. Scotland and Pastor Google, because we are inciting people to come out on the road.
We are making statements that conditions of public safety. We are discussing so many constitutional issues. And on this, once I am part of a program and refer to the Honorable Prime Minister, I will not refer to her as this lady. We will do the proper thing as we always do.
Yes, sir.
You have a legitimate point that you are making, but we must not be afraid to speak the truth.
I wonder who is going to determine whose conversation is going to be, because I have seen our Minister of Finance use a statement against the American government just a day, probably yesterday, on his way to Parliament. And I'm saying they call the state of emergency, and the Minister of Finance has this view. Doesn't he have people as well in the mosque that hold the same view as he? So because they said to us there's threats on people of national security. That is one of the reasons. But if this bill is against crime, how I talking about the policeman that I just pulled over a man?
That's your point. How does that become operational? Yes. In other words, if you're fighting gangs, how does muzzling come part of it? Unless you were saying, the gangster will come and say, I'm a gangster, I'm looking to do you X and Y. But on a more fundamental level, we must be prepared to have continuous discourse at this level. And Pastor Google, you must be prepared not to sit here in an echo chamber. An echo chamber is everybody saying the same thing and you hear it echoing. But we need to get conversations like these out there so that the people and our people, the whole of Trinidad and Tobago, they could disagree, They could disagree. But they must hear our views. We will entertain divergent views, which they will have. And then there'll be some consensus because we have to live on this rock called Trinidad and Tobago. So, Paula, you are correct. But I don't want you to be gun shy when it comes to the truth. And I want to end, Pastor Google, ever so often, right? I want to share with you, Pastor Google, you have at your disposal music still, or you're just a talk show?
What?
Ever so often there's a line in a song by Carly Simon. It's the name of the song is Coming Around Again. And there's a line that says, I believe in love. And that's how the song ends. It ends with that being, and I really do believe, I believe in truth. I believe in love. I believe in Trinidad and Tobago. So ever so often when you get a chance, Pastor Google, play that song for your listeners. It calms me down on an evening. And it's a mantra that I tend to say to myself, because with what is going on in this country, you have to dig deep.
Yes.
You have to dig deep to keep your sanity. You have to dig deep. You have to read it. You have to pray. You have to meditate. You have to exercise. You have to do all. You have to do. You have to be a whole being, because you cannot believe what is passing in Trinidad and Tobago for governance.
Yeah.
But Trinidad and Tobago, I believe in truth. I believe in love. You must play that song for your listeners. And I believe in you, Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
I have boundless faith in our destiny. Pastor, would you allow me? I'm hearing your phone ringing off the hook, but allow me to depart this meet. I will come again.
All right. Okay.
But would you please have me relieved?
Yes, I will. And I just want you to remind the listeners that there is a metered carded for Friday at the Tunapuna Community Center.
The meeting started for Friday, and I can tell you, I'm bringing the facts on Friday evening.
Right. Who are the speakers carded to speak at that meeting?
It is myself. I think Larry Lala.
Right.
I think
Sanjit
the
Budu.
deputy political leader Sanjit Budu, and I think Penelope Beckles may very well also be speaking.
Okay, so those are it's really basically a lawyer crew.
Well, we are discussing law.
Yes. Will there be an open forum?
Well, there may be an opportunity for people to
ask questions.
I am certainly open, but after tonight's open forum, Pastor, you have a good evening, all right?
Same to you.
And Trinidad and Tobago, have a good night. And remember, Pastor, play that song for your listeners when you end your program, all right?
I will try my best to.
All right, then. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
You're welcome. Your phone's still ringing off the hook. I'm gone. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Well, Trinidad and Tobago, you just heard MP Scotland with us, MP Scotland SC, and he was with us from since 8:30 this evening, sharing his concerns also on the state of emergency, SOE. But you know, again, for those of you who are joining us and you're listening, you all know that this platform, we do encourage constructive talk. That's the name of the platform, Constructive Talk. And we do encourage constructive conversation where persons can share their views and share how they feel. Okay? And I'm seeing some of you on the chat making your statements, saying what you have to say. And you have your right to say what you have to say. You know, but and that's it. That's it. You know, and let's be real, you know, Trinidad and Tobago. Today I had a conversation with some, as I say, some elderly men in Woodford Square, and they shared their views. Some of them will have openly said that they supported this government. Some of them openly said that they were disappointed in the former government. And I was listening, and I listened to what they had to say. And I may not have agreed with all what they had to say, but you had to give them the right to say it. Doesn't mean that it would change anything, because Ms. Bisasa is the Prime Minister. We can call for an election from now till the cows come home, like they did. She is the Prime Minister. You understand? But the issue is, is that, and I said to one of the elderly gentlemen, who was there talking and sharing his views. You know, he said, we made a mistake. We made a mistake as a nation. We should have never done what we did. And I said to him, I hear you, but there is something that irks me, that eats me out every time I hear it. Somebody said I did it. Pastor, you did it back to back last night and tonight. What did I do back to back? I don't know. Yeah. It's something irks me. When you ask persons, and I said it earlier on, when you ask persons, why did you do what you did on April 28th? They would say to me, well, I remember 2010. I was eating, I was living, money flowing like water. And I thought, they thought that the same thing was going to happen now. You understand? They thought that the same thing was going to happen now. Alright? So we're going to continue to take your calls. 464-7003. 464-7003. If you wish to call in, share your views on topics that we are talking about. We'll be looking and be zoning in specifically on this SOE. And we want to be responsible with our conversation this evening. So give me a call, 464-7003, 464-7003. What is your take? What is your thoughts? What is your take and what is your thoughts on what we are talking about?
Not one single plan, program, or policy. So not one plan, not one policy man, you're prime minister. You haven't spoken to the nation, I don't know when last when. And not one plan, not one policy, not one strategy, nothing to tell the population, look, we have achieved this, and now we are working to achieve that. Nothing, nothing whatsoever. This is the prime minister of the country, not one plan, not one policy, not one program, no strategy to better the lives of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And you call yourself prime minister? Not one single plan, program, or policy. So not one plan, not one policy man, you're prime
Alright,
minister.
you have a caller on. Hello, good evening, caller.
Good evening. Again, I heard somebody said about circumventing the Constitution or something like that. In fact, you know, there's a in road traffic laws. There are things that is called circumventing lights, where people go wrong. Hello?
I'm listening to you.
Yes, so when they go out in road traffic, they have a thing they call circumventing the lights. So the government now is circumventing the Constitution.
Okay.
And I believe really and truly it's time lawyers come together and go to court. It's time some lawyers come together and go to court for these things.
All right. Thank you very much, caller. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good afternoon, Pastor Google.
Good evening.
How are you today?
I am okay.
It's nice to hear. We're going through so much, and better have you feeling okay. Right? But I lie down here. Well, I listen to Pater Scotland, right? And I hear him. I hear the guy that speak, and you know, he love to hear what he say, what he's speaking about, and calling him out, and you know, sort of thing like that. But I lie down here and I talking to God, and hearing the people saying, hearing you saying that you talk to some people today, and what did they say? And I saying, God, forgive them. Forgive your people, because before I said be saying it's good and it's good, but in my prayer something tell me stop saying that, stop saying it good, because people does get fooled. People does get fooled. And here in the Prime Minister saying, no, what did you do? What did you do? What can you say you do for the people? And this woman is speaking about herself. She's speaking about herself, Pastor Google. She's speaking about herself. What did she do since she come in as 10 months, almost 10 months already? What did she do, Pastor Google? More than send home people and have people suffering right now. But God is good. He's going to keep us. He's going to keep us, you know, beneath his wing. He's going to cuddle us. But I asking the people, don't forget. Don't forget again. You know, try to remember when the time reach again. And I asking God to speed up these years so that the people wouldn't suffer too much, right? And don't matter what they put on the table for you all, don't forget, because this is what they have to do. Yes, let them do it. Say thanks when they do it. You don't even have to say thanks, but be glad when they do it. But don't forget, my people, my brothers and sisters, don't ever forget what this government did to you all and still doing. Okay? Because if they get back in there for another 5 years, it's going to be worse than this time. It will be worse. And I want them, those same police are looking at people right now and looking for the bad boys, and they say, watch me, in Siparia have bad boys, in Penal have bad boys, in Dede have bad boys. I want them to go across the country. Don't only stop in Port of Spain alone. Okay? Go across, go to Shawonas and go into people's house and do the evil that they're planning to do to people of this country. God is not sleeping. Our God is not sleeping. His eyes is wide open and he's going to take good care of us in the meantime. Stay strong in Jesus' name. Have a great night, Pastor Google.
This where this government is taking us, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, to the president. So, but look importantly at regulation 4.1b. The government is telling us, the people and the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, that they foresee the possibility of putting in place an order to impose on any person any restrictions in respect of his employment or business, in respect of his place of residence. What is that? Is this their attempt to go zozo using a state of emergency? So they are going to put in place orders that would restrict any one of us. And remember, your constitutional rights under a state of emergency, such as habeas corpus, such as going to court to be released, etc., are suspended. And they are now coming and telling us, the population, listen, we are contemplating imposing on any person any restrictions in respect of his employment or business, in respect of your place of residence, and in respect of your association or communication with other persons. That is a huge red flag. And now putting here as well that you may be required to notify of your movements in such manner, at such time, to such authority or persons as may be specified. That previously was an order of the court. They are now completely getting rid of due process. Another one at E, to restrict any person from traveling except in accordance with permission given to him by such authority or person as may be specified, without identifying. Again, taking away the previous powers constitutionally that have been put into the courts of Trinidad and Tobago and handing that to themselves, handing that to Roger Alexander, handing that to Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Is this where this government is taking us, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago?
This is still a democracy. And so too was MP Scotland. I want to beg and plead with the media, please look at these regulations. Because you see, it is one thing to say to the public that you are calling a state of emergency, is another thing when people don't read these regulations, because here the regulations would tell you that this government really is not practicing democracy. This government is all about dictatorship. This government is all about abuse of power. And this government is all about ensuring that freedom of expression no longer exists in Trinidad and Tobago. This is what this SOE is all about. Because when you look at Section 11 again, and I want to say to several persons, including the media, because you notice they're talking about articles, I mean, who are they targeting when you talk about articles? No person shall endeavor, whether orally or otherwise, to influence public opinion in a manner likely to be prejudicial to public safety, do any act or have any article in his possession with a view to making or facilitating the making of any such endeavor. And we're talking about gang activity, but you see what is in these regulations? And then they go on to say, notwithstanding any rule of law to the contrary, a police officer may, without a warrant, and with or without assistance, and with the use of force, if necessary, enter and search any premises, or stop and search any vehicle or individual, whether in a public place or not. I mean, listen, we could go on and on and on, you know, because we cannot separate the regulations from the policy. And you are talking about anti-gang legislation. And I mean, we have to link 2011 again, because you remember in 2011 you had hotspots, and that is the time when it appeared to be even worse than today, when they brought that state of emergency. You lock up over 8,000 people. I mean, if you remember, they had vans going all over the place, just putting people all over into these vehicles, and then lo and behold, millions and millions of dollars were paid out. I am just urging the public, because we are going to have a meeting to deal with this issue of this legislation and to deal with these emergency regulations, because it is very, very clear that the public needs to be aware exactly what is the intentions. Because we know, I mean, we have been listening to the ministers warning people about social media and about what you say and what you didn't say. And we also recall that one of the persons who was arrested and kept in custody. So we have to pay attention to the regulations. A person who commits an offense under these regulations is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $100,000 and to imprisonment for a term of 5 years. So I want to say, and you know, I mean, you go back to the Prime Minister's statement. I also indicated that violent gang members would be returned straight to prison. And this time, their friends and family who aid their criminality would accompany them. I reiterate my words that if criminals want to terrorize law-abiding citizens and their families, I will do everything legally possible to terrorize criminals and those who aid and abet them. The law is not about terrorizing, you know. This is still a democracy. This is still a democracy. And this is a country with a rule of law. And this is a prime minister who believes that you're governed by telling people behave yourself. Behave yourself. This is not about behaving yourself. We agree that if legislation, and sometimes drastic legislation, and the anti-gang legislation was not a legislation that when the People's National Movement passed it, we understood that is not, you know, in a sense, you have to do certain things, because when crime is getting out of hand, and that's why we talk about the willingness of the opposition to assist.
The announcement of a state of emergency came via legal notice number 39, signed on Monday, March 2nd by President Christine Carla Kangaloo, where she noted that she is satisfied that a public emergency has risen as a result of the occurrence of action that has been taken or is immediately threatened by any person of such a nature and on so extensive a scale as to be likely to endanger the public's safety. With that declaration now active, it triggers this legal notice number 40, the Emergency Powers Regulations 2026, outlining sweeping measures and enforcement. It states that under the orders, the Commissioner of Police is now authorized to prohibit or restrict the possession or use by any person or body of persons of any specified articles, and to impose on any person any restrictions in respect of his employment or business and association or communication with other persons. Police are also empowered to enforce curfews, noting that the Police Commissioner is authorized to prohibit any person from being out of doors between such hours as may be specified, except under the authority of a written permit. According to the regulations, police may also enter and search any premises or stop and search any vessel, vehicle or individual, whether in a public place or not. It added that a police officer may arrest without warrant any person whom he suspects has acted or is acting or is about to act in a manner prejudicial to public safety, adding that such police officer may take such steps and use such force as may appear to him to be necessary for effecting the arrest or preventing the escape of such person. It noted that officers may detain anyone they suspect without a warrant and could be detained beyond 48 hours with the authority of a magistrate or of a police officer not below the rank of assistant superintendent. And in the regulations, the Defence Force has also been placed on alert, noting that the commander of the Defence Force established under the Defence Act shall hold his forces in readiness to assist and, if called upon by the Commissioner of Police, shall cooperate with and assist the Commissioner of Police in the performance of his duties under these regulations. As for offences and penalties, a person who commits an offence under the regulations is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $100,000 and to imprisonment for a term of 5 years. Sonolala, TTT News.
So that is what we have been discussing this evening, and I'm taking your calls on 464-7003. 464-7003. What is your thoughts on what we have been discussing this evening? All right, you've heard it. I played several clips to you there. Several clips. Several. For you now to call in and so the first one I played from TTT will have given you an outline, and that's state media, TTT, and they would have given an outline of different parts of the and clause of the SOE that you need to be aware of. Also, I played for you the opposition leader and her concerns in the SOE. Also, I played for you MP Stuart Young, and also we had this evening on the program MP Scotland SC. Hello, good evening, caller.
Good afternoon, Pastor again.
Good evening.
Pastor, last Friday I didn't call you because I was preoccupied, believe it or not. Because it appears that in my area, per se, and probably areas like mine, but my area, it appears that there's a curfew. Because after 9:30, I am seeing plainclothes police in unmarked vehicles up and down my area with brandished weapons and sidearms, with machine guns and sidearms. Last night, I had to go and get my nephew, one of my nephews, from the police because he was apprehended for walking home with plaid hair and a hoodie.
Okay. Yes, your nephew was arrested for walking home with plaid hair and a hoodie.
Yeah. You can try smart.
Okay.
We have to have a hoodie because they do the cool. So when you leave work, what's the point to come ready?
Okay.
So he got arrested last night. Apprehended last night. 18-year-old. Because he had plaid hair and was wearing a hoodie. 3 police are playing in the back of our jeep. Another part of the restaurant, if you can't chunk part,
yeah,
they did a hurry. And tonight now, I come again, see more police and more unmarked vehicles.
What area is this?
This person, so.
Okay. Why didn't you say that to your MP? But your MP was just on. Why didn't you say that to him?
Yeah, I know. I just spoke to him, but I have wished to get him apart from this show.
Nobody would have been good to hear him comment on it on the show.
Yeah, but I don't know. I have more things to tell him rather than to tell him all that. But because he's aware also. Trust me, he is. He's aware. But like I say, I don't understand. I can't understand the government because you don't want nobody. I understand the government. I don't understand. I understand it because they know exactly what they did when they was in opposition.
They know all the bacchanal course. They know everything. So they don't want anything. It is not like something going to start. They don't come at one time. So I want to know. So are we going to live for the next 4 and something years under a democracy for at least part of 1 year?
Well, let's see how it go, caller. Let me take another call. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Pastor Hugo, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I just, about second, third time caller. I think, I'm not on YouTube there, but any guy talking still, I thought he was still there. The guy from Port of Spain South.
Okay.
Whose temperature unfortunately locked up.
Yeah.
But interestingly, talk tonight. You talk tonight is about what I was talking about is the SOE and the targeting of basically your platform and people like your platform that talking out against the government. What do you think about it?
Well, what I think about it, I can't think nothing. I just have to be careful with how I put across my information, and just be careful with how people, some of the callers, when they're calling in, just be very mindful and careful of what they say, how they say, when they say, what they say.
I find it's very it's an uncomfortable feeling.
Well, that is what people voted for, you know.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and we just have to know. We have to now adjust ourselves accordingly. I was listening to what's her name? Miss Rhoda Barath, and she said it also. She said that we have reached the point now where we have to be very careful how we say, what we say, when we say.
Exactly, but that is not the Trinidad I know.
Really? Well, the Trinidad you know under Dr. Rowley was a dictatorship Trinidad, sir.
So what is this way?
This is love. This is love, peace, and all of the above.
So it cannot continue.
It has to. You could say that, sir, but again, as I told you earlier, and I said to you just now, that we have to be careful how we say what we say, when we say what we say. You might say that, and they may listen to you saying that on my platform and say, I'm inciting.
Well, when I saw the press conference that I had that only TTT was invited to. I missed that because I don't really follow TTT too much, because now that's now the UNC TTT. And then when I catch up with it after and I hear what they're speaking about, I see what they're targeting. Pastor Google, Constructive Talk 868. Who else? Railroad about. They're targeting people that are talking against the government.
Who is 868?
The workers right 868.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Okay.
You never hear about them?
No, I didn't know it was 868. I know 868 was a guy from Point 14.
No, he's from Labre.
Okay.
Well, I think he's from Labre. I'm not sure. But his conversation be a little more passionate, and I can see he might get locked up first when there's a lot of people. But nobody inciting a riot or anything like that. I remember back in the day when the murders were going on, and a young man and a lady was murdered in somewhere in the east, and they wanted they find Sharon Rowley get killed because this lady and his son was killed. And lo and behold, there was a family affair going on there. And today I saw on Facebook somebody said, what they always say, like what was going on in 2015, 2025, how nobody was talking against the government, but people was attacking, they paid them.
But man, there were protests upon protests upon protests.
Yeah.
So that I didn't want to respond to that nonsense, because at the end of the day, that's a lie and that's a narrative that they want people to hold on to and to believe, because that's just how some people are.
Yeah, but there's so much we in month 10 or probably 11. I'm not sure.
11 because next month is the anniversary.
Right.
We are
So
in March.
month
We
11.
are in March right now. So in
And
11 months.
What's how Trinidad is in 11 months?
How Trinidad is, you see, let's see what how Trinidad is. How is Trinidad in 11 months?
Trinidad right now is depressing.
Okay. All right.
We have lost our spirit. Our industries are shutting down, and they're trying to say everything is good, and well, Fix It Philip lies every day online, and he hires bots. And I realize one thing with your page will hire bots, but Fix It Philip hires bots.
Where's bots now?
That's why I think I'm more involved with your program. Bots is something you pay for.
Oh.
So your viewership will be 800 or 1,000 people, actual people.
Actual
will
people.
be 10,000 people.
Okay.
Yeah, that's bots. You buy that about 40 US, 50 US, you'll get thousands of bots.
I don't have time for that, sir. I don't have time. Sorry, I don't have time for that. The people who you see on my live, is genuine, real people. I don't know bots. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that.
I can understand that. But the thing is, social media is the new battlefield. Where it's no longer fought on actual people in social media field. So, and when there are 10,000 bots, everybody, when they go onto Facebook, they go onto YouTube, they will see the first thing that come on their YouTube is your page, because you paid for that.
Oh.
And that is the situation that's going on now. That they have a while now, because I remember that. Sure, that was in Cambridge Analytica on Netflix.
Yeah, Cambridge Analytica, the movie.
Yeah. So that was bought from that kind of industry that started since 2010.
Oh, okay.
Back then I didn't know about it, but now I'm versed about it now. And we had war. We need to fight. We need to fight war with war, and we need to save our country. Because when it breaks, everything come out it, right? And it has been said by the Honorable Shojong a number of times that the dragon field is now between Shell and Venezuela. Trinidad have nothing to do with it anymore. Right? And that was our, as Rory said, if we lose that, we cook. And now we cook with cooked. They don't need a Trinidad anymore for anything. Because the oil and gas to be produced offshore with vessels and shipped out with tankers. So they no longer need Trinidad. We have no power play anymore. Delcy Rodriguez, well, she don't know part of Trinidad anymore. Venezuela is her best friend. No, because she does what the American president says. So they have a relationship going on there, and they have something that works. And we are crashing.
All right.
And we could pretend as much as you want, but that's not the reality. Our country is crashing.
Yes. All right.
And if you go to, for example, I am around the industry, right? So I go to police and say morning. The traffic no longer starts at the gas station anymore on the Rivulet Road because police is shutting down a lane of workers. So less people are going there. Right? TCL is shutting down. And TCL is actually privatizing. But that's a talk for another day. TCL right now is privatizing, but that's a talk for another day. And we need to bring back sanity to our country. We need our country.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very, very much, man. All right, so
it's very disturbing, and we need to bring these matters to the forefront all the time.
Well, that's why you need to call.
Well, that call tonight.
All right, sir. All right, man. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Hello, good evening.
Good
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Not bad. I remember I really remember some years ago, there was a president when he spoke about a galloping dictatorship, and he was telling me what a man is. Right? And as we look through now, I'm very careful that what we say. I'm not saying what he said, I'm saying that I'm going to make sure I get lockups. These are things that we have to pay very close attention to. This present administration has taken a different stand to control speech, to want to control movement. All the fundamental rights is being eroded. We have to be very careful about what we do. Dr. Google, I want to tell you, continue the good work. There's not much for me to say more than to be the same time that Mr. Scotland and all the other callers was saying. But I say to everyone, remember, voting has choices.
Consequences.
Not voting has choices. Voting for the wrong party
have
has
consequences.
Choices. And voting for the right party has choices. So as somebody just said, you could choose, or you could choose not to choose, but a choice will be made.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And a choice was made.
Yeah, so I just want to say have a good night. And to you and your family, and remember, you will meet in Tobago again sometime. Have a good night, sir. Right? I go on.
Wait, before you go.
Yes, sir.
Before you go, we didn't get a chance to talk about that Tobago election. How you feeling?
No, Vox Populi, Vox Dei, the voice of the people is the voice of God, the voice the people spoke. Right? However, my little concern, now is that, you see, just like how some people say they were fools, there are another twist to these things. Let me share something I saw today on social media. So one of the big oil companies in Qatar packing up and leaving force measure, right? Because there's no way they can fulfill anything, and nobody can do anything because there's a war, right? And so people losing billions of dollars. So that once great place is going to crash because, I mean, you can't tell oil company to continue doing oil or gas or whatever in Qatar when missiles launch, you know? So all over the world, things starting to fall apart, and we need to look at it. But back to the bigger scenario, that is something that we have to look at very closely. And I always remember that it's a way for an administration to run without opposition and without any opposition. When Tobago didn't have a boat, Fali was on every loudspeaker. The Honorable Fali August was on every loudspeaker saying how wicked Rowley is and how he's a house. You know what? I like to use the word house unreal. Right? Now we asking for patience. You understand? But somebody to be who has to be a soapbox politician. Can't have a soapbox and talk. Because we cannot know to be good for us to continue going the way they're going. You understand? But that's another story for another time. All right. You have a good night, sir.
Same to you, sir.
Okay, then.
Yeah, man. All right, that's my partner from Tobago. He bunks up in Tobago when I went over for the Tobago THA elections. We would have met. I met him and his wife, and they were very nice hosts. Yeah, treated me really, 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 really nice. So again, I want to say thank you to them publicly for the generosity, and they took me around, man. Yeah, took me around and made me feel very, very welcome and at home in Tobago. So we're taking a few more of your calls. 464-7003. 464-7003.
I just asked the lady there. I said, were you afraid to come here? She said, no, I want my children to be able to go to school. That's enough for me.
So, PNM Town Meeting. The PNM Town Meeting on Friday the 8th of March 2026. Topic SOE. Tunapuna Community Center at 6:30 p.m. Alright, to be a part of it, the Honorable Ms. Penelope Beckles, MP, and speakers such as you have Mr. Sanjif Voodoo, which is he's one of the deputy political leaders of the PNM. You have Mr. Larry Lala, SC. You have the Honorable Keith Scotland, SC. And you have, I can't remember this young lady's name for the life of me, but I'm going to try and get it. Try and see if I can get it before the end of the evening. All right. But she is a senator and she is a lawyer. She's a constitutional lawyer also. So be there on Friday. All right. Be there on Friday. Be there or be square. All right.
I want to start by reading a quote for you that is trending online now. Someone sent it to me and I saw it so many times. I think it's good for us to read this quote. I'm sure when I start to read it, you will be familiar with it. It says, out of hatred for the cockroach, the ants voted for the insecticide. Out of hatred for the cockroach, the ants voted for the insecticide. They all died, big on in the tail, including the housefly that didn't even vote. They all died, including the housefly that didn't even vote. It says an African proverb, but it could be a Trinidadian and Tobagonian proverb. It is so true of our situation here today.
So I need 10 more persons to subscribe to this page, please. 10 more persons to subscribe to Constructive Talk Network page. It's our backup page. It's our backup page just in case, something was happen to this page. I just need 10 more persons tonight who are on the platform just to subscribe, please. 10 more persons, because I'm not going to beg. Like how I begged last night, I would have begged, all of you. If the 500 of you would subscribe to the page, that'd be real nice. If the 500, if I could just get 10 persons from the 5 of you to subscribe to the page, I would appreciate it a whole lot, so that I can start to prep the page. So I can start to prep the page. Right? So I can start to prep the page. Because, as I said before, you don't know. So I pin it and you would see it. Alright? You can see it there. You can see it. So please, I ask you, 10 of you, just need 10 of you right now to just like this page that I pinned in the chat, please. All right, if you're not seeing it, I'm gonna put it again. I just need 10 persons to like and subscribe to this page. Just subscribe to the page for me, so that we can start to prep the page, just in case. You know how things has happened, and we don't want anything to happen to Constructive Talk. All right, we don't want anything to happen to this platform. So I'm just asking 10 of you. So if just wait, and just if you subscribe to it, if you subscribe to it tonight, just give me a thumbs up, or as someone just said, I just did. So if 10 of you can do that, well, right, if one person has already done it, so I need 9 persons. I subscribed last night. Well, right, if you already subscribed, this message is not for you, but it is for persons who did not subscribe last night. I just need 9 of you now to subscribe. And when you do so, if you can come on the live now and just let me know, Pastor Google, I have just subscribed to our I just did. Right, so I need 8 persons. I need 8 more persons to do so. I need 8 more persons to subscribe. All right, let's see if we can do that tonight. Now, I just did. Okay, so I need 7. I need 7 more persons. I just did 7. 6. I need 6 more. Let's go. 6 more persons. Let's go. We can do this. 6 more persons. I just did 6. 7 more persons. 7. Let's go. Thank you very much. 7. 6. Let's count it down. Let's count it down. We can do this. Okay, Pastor Google. I did it last night. Okay, so if you did it last night, cool. But I want persons who didn't do it last night, who can do it tonight for me. I just subscribed. Beautiful. 5. I need 5 more persons to subscribe. 5 more persons. All right. I just did it, Pastor G. Right. I see you have 100 subscribers. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. 4. All right. And please, help with the. Okay. Let's go. Let's go. We need 5 more persons. 5 more persons out of the 560 of you. If 60 of you subscribe, that'd be good. But I just need 5. Just need 5. Because you see, again, as I said, we don't want anything to happen to this page. But if God forbid something does happen, we have that page as a backup. And I need to start to prep the page. So I need 5 more of you. 5 more of you to subscribe to the page, please. Somebody just subscribed. 4. I just did 4. 3. Come on, let's do this. 3. Come on, we can do this. 3 more persons. 3 more persons, we can do this. Out of the 553, all right. 2 more persons, please. 2 more persons. I just need 2 more persons. I just did. Right, 1. Let's go. 1. All right, share and like. Okay, this person. Let's go. 1 more person. 1 more person can do it. We can do this. 1 more person, please. Just go and subscribe and come back and tell me you subscribed. All right, I subscribed last night. Okay, thank you very much for subscribing last night. I need 1 person to subscribe tonight. 1 person. 1 person. Let's go. I subscribed already. Okay, thank you. I'm talking to people who did not subscribe as yet. I on. What do you mean by I on? I just did. Thank you very much. All right, so I think we have so those of you who haven't subscribed, you can still do so. All right. So for those of you who haven't subscribed, you can do so. And let's build up the numbers on that page. That is our backup page. And one of these nights I'm going to go live on that page, One of these nights I'm going to go live on that page, so that we can, we can build up that page. All right. I just subscribed. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. All right. So here's why I say my thank you to all of you for being on Constructive Talk this evening. We want to thank all the callers, all the listeners, everybody who have been a part of the program this evening. I think this evening program was a success. And tomorrow, please God, I'm supposed to have the mayor of Tigo Martin on with me, but we'll see how that go. All right. On Friday, we going live. Friday, we will be going live from Tunapuna Community Center, where the People's National Movement will be having their meeting on the SOE. Very interesting. So again, thank you all very, very much for being a part of Constructive Talk this evening.
Worried and I'm feeling the pain. My faith's been tested time and time again. Oh, but my spirit is determined to believe and to overcome life trials that seem to never done. But still, I kneel before you with a praying song. Lord, I come to pray for the strength and the faith that's required. Amen. I pray for my people to not lose their fire. Suffering in silence. Amen. Grant them wisdom, cures, clarity and guidance. I pray for the young and I pray for the old. Cover their minds, Lord, don't let them lose control. Though we stand in sin, our transgressions are many.